All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new DC update. I also got my lights fixed in here. I had a whole box of things where I keep old electronics, and I actually had a plug that was perfect for the lights. So I got my lights back. And also the back of me is also going to be changing. I'm going to be revamping the whole thing, and I'm going to hopefully have figures going all the way across the back very soon. So there's going to be some changes coming to the studio here when I do YouTube videos. So look for that shortly. Now, this video is going to be all about the New York City Comic-Con. And what's crazy about the Comic-Con is we're going to look at the most ridiculous things that came out of the Comic-Con and the cool things that came out in regards to DC. And I'm going to tell you right now that James Gunn made a very poor showing at the Comic-Con. Like, the applause was ridiculous. And I am going to show you guys some stuff today and talk about what some of the people were talking about online. And I cannot believe the amount of manufactured hype that there is for something like Creature Commandos. And it's really interesting what people are arguing about when I would mention stuff and be real with them on Twitter. But let's take a look at some of the photos that I have grabbed. We're going to talk about the ridiculous stuff first and then the cool things that were announced for DC. All right, so the first thing I have from the Comic-Con here, and this is actually pretty cool, is Ray Porter, who was Darkseid in Zack Snyder's Justice League, was there and met with McFarlane Toys and was able to check out his figure from the throne room coming out soon, and he talked about how cool this was. And I was actually able to snag one of every single one of the figures that is coming out. I will tell you, I had the 2-pack was the hardest to procure of the Batman and the two Batmans. The damage to armor as well as the Nightmare sequence, the 2-pack, was hard to get. I actually had this figure, the throne room, and that double pack in my cart at Walmart as soon as they went on sale. And before I could even pay, the 2-pack was already sold out, which is crazy. So I actually had to go to the McFarlane website and purchase it. So I was able to get them from different places, but I was able to get all the figures that are coming out. So they will be added to my wall as soon as they come out, but some of these may not release until sometime next year. Now, this is actually pretty cool. So James Gunn said, meet the monstrous team at booth 4327 at New York Comic-Con. And we're going to take a look at some of the photos here. This is actually some pretty cool marketing. But we're going to see where James came up with the idea for Creature Commandos and how it came to be here in a little bit. And I think it's actually quite ridiculous. But let's take a look at some of this. This is actually some pretty good marketing. So here's a really good shot of where they've got the booth for the Creature Commandos. And then as you go to each of the windows, this is pretty cool. I like how they incorporated the cartoon into the bars here at Belle Reve. It looks pretty neat. Here's another shot. Some pretty cool stuff. And one more of Weasel trying to get out. Or at least look outside. I just thought this was kind of cool how they did this. Now, Anya Chalotra's Cersei will confront Viola Davis's Amanda Waller in Creature Commandos. That was revealed. I don't see why this wouldn't happen. I'm interested to see this character brought to life in a cartoon, but we'll see how that character, and we'll see if they keep the character true. But yeah, we're going to talk about some stuff here. James Gunn comes out and says Creature Commandos will lead into Peacemaker Season 2. Here's another shot of Ray Porter talking about meeting Todd McFarlane and seeing his throne room figure there at the booth. Darkseid with the throne is cooler than cool, he said, which is pretty cool. Also, some Creature Commandos merchandise was at least available, probably still is, over at the DC shop. I highly doubt this is going to sell out unless they made very few shirts for this, because honestly, there is no hype for this show, guys. I'm very curious to see if they'll even release the streaming numbers, because I don't foresee this doing well at all. In fact, I was actually going to do a trailer reaction to the Creature Commandos, but I decided to watch it, which I don't usually do when I do, these trailer reactions. I would rather watch it in real time. And when I watched it, I was so disappointed with it, I didn't even bother to do a trailer reaction because the whole time I was there, this is just like the Suicide Squad all over again. And the Suicide Squad did not do well at all. It's not selling. The merchandise sold like crap. It didn't stream all that well. It didn't do well at the box office. This is just a continuation of that. That's all it is. And they did reveal a couple of things that we're going to be talking about here in the trailer that they're just ripping off of Batman's lore. One thing James Gunn did come out and do is he did state again that Matt Reeves' The Batman is going to be separate from the DCU, and it needs to stay that way, to be honest with you. But he will get jealous as it continues to thrive, and his stuff probably won't do well. All right, so this is where things start to get ridiculous. And people posted this and said, oh my gosh, this is the line to get into the DC Studios Creature Commandos panel. Holy crap. And it's a lie, guys. This is a total fabrication. The line to get into the Creature Commandos panel is at the bottom of the screen. You see where the divider is off to the kind of in the center there, and all those people on the other side, they were not there for the Creature Commandos panel. Those were people getting into the Comic-Con. This is a total fabrication. I've had several people who were there and have been to this Comic-Con reach out to me and let me know that that was not the panel off to the right. It was only the people there at the bottom of the screen. And I even posted that if it was like this, the only reason there was hype for people to go to that panel is because James Gunn was going to be there and they could question him. People were going in hopes, and I told people to be real about this. The only reason people were really going to go, not for Creature Commandos, but to find out if they were going to reveal anything else in regards to the DC slate for the DCU, and to see if there was going to be an early trailer for Superman, which didn't happen. Neither of those things happened. And we're going to see what James Gunn had to say about the reboot and how he's going to let the audience know what is canon and what is not, and it's quite frankly ridiculous. James Gunn did talk about the Superman trailer. He said it won't be too long before we see a Superman trailer, but it also won't be soon. What are they hiding from at this stage? There is no reason why they can't show people something in regards to this film. Now, this is going to tie into one of the things I'm about to talk about. So somebody was there at the Comic-Con and saw the trailer and the panel and everything, and he said, I asked him, well, what was the reaction? All the Hollywood media was praising it as the greatest thing since sliced bread. He simply said hardly anyone applauded because they thought, was that DC? They saw the old Superman intro, but what the heck was that after? He simply said it looked stupid, and the majority felt that way, but if it's good, he said, I'll watch it. Now, that does lead into James Gunn and the end of the Comic-Con, which I thought was pretty pathetic, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. This is James Gunn talking about DC Studios. He said, every project of DC Studios will be its own thing. Everything is going tremendously well. Superman, Supergirl, Lanterns, they are a part of this cinematic universe, but every one of those things will be very different aesthetically. It's funny he didn't mention Creature Commandos in there, but we still have a few things to talk about in regards to Creature Commandos. Now, this is one of those statements that has me worried. It says, James Gunn says that David Corenswet will blow people the F away as Superman. I don't think anyone really understands the depth of this guy's talent dramatically, comedically, physically. Is he the next James Carrey? Is that who he's going to be in this film, as a Jim Carrey? Because if that's the case, this isn't going to work in this film. And I have a fear that they're going to make Clark so ridiculously stupid that maybe it makes it look like he has some kind of autism, or that he's just the dumbest mofo out there, and overdo it to the point of being ridiculous. That is my fear. And we'll see when it comes out. I mean, the longer they wait to show people stuff, the worse this is going to look. This is the most ridiculous thing ever in explaining how the DCEU is going to turn into the DCU. he says there are references to things that happened in the past. And those references then become canon in the DCU because we mention them. That was his whole explanation. That's how they're going to explain things moving forward. That if they reference them, they happened. If they don't, it's not canon anymore. That's it. That's all you got. You know, everything about talking about the Flash and how it was one of the great most. He said, James Gunn himself said it was one of the greatest superhero films ever, and it certainly wasn't. It certainly wasn't. And I just don't trust what this guy says. He's now going to, just because he mentions them, they're canon, and if they don't, they're not. He talked up the whole multiverse when the Flash came out. And you're not using that as an explanation of how to reboot things? It's whether you mention them or not? Seriously? Seriously. James Gunn also confirms that Rick Flag is dead in the DCU. We mention your son is dead to Frank Grillo, who plays Rick Flag Sr. And what's crazy is they had all the actors there, and I heard from several people who were there that said the actors barely said anything. James Gunn pretty much talked the entire time. All right, guys, so here is the Creature Commandos panel. And what I want you to recognize is there's somebody sitting in the back here. This place wasn't even completely full. And it said, our boots made it to the ground into the Creature Commandos panel. It's filling up fast. It wouldn't fill up fast. If you remember how I showed you the picture of all the people outside and they said that was the panel? Those were the people getting into the panel? If those had been the people, this place would have filled up in 2 seconds. It wouldn't be filling up fast. It would have been filled up immediately. And it's not. You got these people sitting in the back and the whole thing is open. And you could still see some seats there, some room there in the front where the panel is. This thing was not as jam-packed as they make it seem to be, okay? And we still have a few things we need to talk about this panel. There at the Comic-Con, again, why? It said, James Gunn said, I'm thrilled to serve as story consultant on Peacemaker Presents, the Vigilante Eagly double feature by creators Tim Seeley, Mitch Gerards, Rex Ogle, and Matteo Lolli, set between Seasons 1 and Season 2 of Max's original series, Peacemaker. They're getting a comic? Really? Really? The toys aren't selling. Do you really think people are going to buy this? I have no interest in this comic whatsoever. None. So this is, again, the most ridiculous thing ever. Real Shift posted this, and I reposted it. James Gunn says he started writing Creature Commandos before the show was even greenlit. He later became DC CEO and greenlit it himself. What? This shows you that there was no planning behind this. It's him doing his pet projects. Think about this for a minute. Why is Creature Commandos the thing that is kicking off the DCU? Who asked for this? If you put DC fans all in a room together and they said, what do you think the first thing is that DC is going to release for the DCU? I guarantee you not one mother effer in there would have said Creature Commandos. Not one. Why this is even a show? It's all because of what James Gunn wants to do. It's all about Gunn. It's not about DC. It's not about the fans. It's about the weird crap that's going on in his head that he wants to bring to life. And you'll have all those people saying, well, he made these people who were, the Guardians of the Galaxy who were unknown characters. He made a freaking raccoon seem like a real person. Yeah. So, they weren't even portrayed correctly, and neither was the Suicide Squad, neither was Peacemaker, neither was Vigilante. They were way far from their comic counterparts, not even close. And I'm telling you, this Creature Commandos trailer was blah. If that's what they're offering up, this isn't going to work. Benjamin Brian Davis has been cast as Rupert Thorne in Creature Commandos. So, they're taking Batman characters now. And also, you've got a picture of, Clayface is going to be in Creature Commandos as well. Yeah, they're taking Batman, a lot of Batman stuff, and putting it in here. And these look a lot like their Batman the Animated Series counterparts, to be honest with you, which I think is a ripoff. Do something original. Don't take something that is beloved by so many fans and twist it into your own thing. Do something different. Yeah. All right, now I have to talk about the cool stuff. But before I talk about the cool stuff and show you a couple more pictures, it doesn't look like I grabbed all the pictures I wanted to, but there was a lot. And this video is going to be long. So you guys, like I said, you're just going to want to probably just sit back and enjoy the video. I thought about breaking it up into two, but I'm just going to go with it. Now, the most ridiculous thing that happened at the Comic-Con was at the very end of the Comic-Con. It is a very awkward video to watch, and I'm not going to share it here. You can go to Twitter and you can see it, but it's when James Gunn thanked everybody for being there, and he started yelling into the microphone, and he was telling everybody, "Thank you so much for your warm support, on social media in regard to this whole process." And as soon as he was done, I was getting ready to hear like these big cheers and yells and screams, and it didn't happen. It was like the most awkward thing that I've seen in a long time. There were a couple of people that cheered, a couple of claps, but man, you compare this to when they did the reveal for Batman versus Superman at the Comic-Con, it is freaking night and day. Now, I had somebody come out and say, well, that was because the camera that was getting the audio for the Batman versus Superman was out in the crowd and off of someone's phone, and that sounds louder than what they captured at the Comic-Con. And guys, there is no comparison. It doesn't matter how you want to try and spin it. The interest isn't there. It's just not there. And I guarantee you the majority of the people that were there weren't there for Creature Commandos. They were there hoping they were going to see a Superman trailer, or they were hoping to get more announcements for the DCU. And I also want to point out that outside of Creature Commandos, that the only things that are happening at DC right now are the three biggest projects that they had originally announced, which were Superman, Supergirl, and Lanterns. None of the other weird crap that they announced is happening yet. And James Gunn announced, unless they have scripts, they're not going to greenlight it. They are going to wait. I can all but guarantee we're not going to see anything else in regards to the DCU until they do a reveal. Well, not until they do a reveal, but until Superman gets released in theaters and we see how well or not it's going to do at the theater. So, guys, it's not looking good. Now, what does look good is the comic side of this. So I am going to show you a couple of things here. And one of the pictures I didn't grab, and I really wish I had. So one of the things that was awesome, if you guys didn't know, the coolest thing going on in comics right now, and the coolest thing to happen for DC in probably over a decade, is Absolute Batman. It is going into its third printing. The second printing sold out before it hasn't even been released yet. They haven't even gone to print. And they were already doing the third printing on it. And I do have copies coming for each of those. But this is the reveal of the Batmobile from the second issue, which will be coming out November 12th or something like that, or November 15th. But they wanted to reveal this at the Comic-Con, and it matches the comic. I think it's a little overdone, but that looks like a dump truck that has been outfitted with some armor on it, big dump truck, by the way. So it is definitely outlandish compared to, the real Batman timeline. But I dug the first issue. I'm very much looking forward to the next issue that comes out. Now, some other things that they did announce in regards to the Absolute Universe is they announced like 8 more titles, or a total of 8 titles altogether. They had the 3 that were already announced, the Batman, the Superman, and the Wonder Woman. But they also announced Martian Manhunter. They announced the Lanterns and several others. So there's some pretty cool things coming down the pike. And I thought I grabbed screenshots of those things, and I hadn't. Also, this was one of the coolest things announced there. Vertigo hasn't been part of DC for a very long time, but they are bringing it back. So DC Vertigo is back. DC Comics is back in the creator-owned business. This is good news. I mean, this is where Sandman originally got, its start. Vertigo is going to be bringing, this is good news for DC. I think DC is, for the first time, I've been collecting comics since 1987. And it's very interesting. There has been a very big dip in comics for the last decade. Scott Snyder had a fantastic run on Batman for about 5-6 years, which was amazing. And I'm probably going to pick up the omnibus for that whole storyline, everything from the Court of Owls up through the end of it. It was amazing. And now he's back doing Absolute Batman. But we're going to talk about the biggest thing that was announced here in just a second. I want to see if there's any more photos that have to do with the Comic-Con here. All right, guys, I didn't grab any of the other photos, unfortunately, but let's talk about a couple other things that were announced. One of the cool things that was announced was an animated movie based off of the Justice League. I don't remember if it was versus Kong or versus Godzilla. I don't remember which. I didn't read the comic series, but that movie was announced, got a lot of people excited. But the biggest announcement, and the thing I am most excited for as a DC fan, Hush Part 2. So you've got Jim Lee back. He's going to be, obviously, the illustrator. And you have Jeff Loeb coming back as the writer. And, yeah, that is also going to be huge for DC. Just look out for that. When those go up for sale, you're going to want to get with your comic shop, and it's going to be soon. If you don't get copies of it, you're going to be finding yourself getting second, third, fourth, and fifth printings, guaranteed, of Hush Part 2. Part of that storyline they did announce is going to start with Justice League, the first issue of the new Justice League series. So you're going to want to check that out as well when that gets released here in November or December. So there's some things coming down the pike that are huge. And that Hush storyline, like I said, since I started reading comics back in the 80s, the most memorable storyline was the Hush storyline, and I have all of those issues in my collection. I got a cover of every single one of them. The only thing I didn't get was a second printing of the first issue, and that second printing is worth a whole heck of a lot of money. I'm telling you right now, Hush is going to break the bank. It is going to be huge for DC, and if you've never read DC Comics, you should definitely check out the Hush storyline. Not the animated series they came out with. They changed some stuff I was not happy with. But this is going to be huge to have Jim Lee back and to have Jeff Loeb writing. They had teased this back when I had talked about the Hush omnibus that I got just this last year. And in there at the very end, they did tease, and I've talked about this in another video, that they would be doing a part 2 to Hush. And it is finally coming to fruition. So Jim Lee isn't just going to be part of, the staff in the background, the editorial staff. He's actually going to be the illustrator for that, which I am uber excited for. All right, guys, so there's the update on kind of the New York City Comic-Con. Outside of that, it was kind of a bust. Like I said, everything with James Gunn was a letdown, and they have yet to show anything that has me even remotely excited for what they're doing. Now, I did talk about in my last video yesterday that there's always a chance they could win me over, but I don't see it happening. I don't see nothing is getting me excited. But again, I wasn't excited for Ben Affleck as Batman. But that ended up being amazing. But we'll see when everything gets released. I'm eager. I'm chomping at the bit to see something from Superman, to see if it's actually going to be good or not. I'm hoping the trailer will shut me up a little bit, but I'm guessing it's probably not going to. But they're afraid to release stuff, and I don't know why. All right, guys, so there's my video for the day. I do appreciate the support. We will see you on the next video.